Hey, Super Dave here from Prog. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to another edition of No BS Reactions, where I expand my boundaries a little bit and see what I discover. Today, I am digging deeper into Amorphis, a trip I started a little while back, and got some suggestions to follow up on them. This is a song suggested by a viewer. I'm going to mangle this. I know it, so I'm just going to put it on the screen to be safe. Carrie Reed Conan, 5811. Hopefully I came close. But anyway, thank you for the suggestion. Much appreciated. For those of you not familiar, Amorphis is a band from Finland that started back around 1990. So these guys are some seriously grizzled veterans. They've been around for a while. They have been described as anything from prog metal, melodic death metal, folk metal, and power metal. So they're all the metals. That's basically what it comes down to. I guess when you've got 30 plus years in the business, you get to be whatever the hell you want to be. You get to be a lot of things. And you probably change things up over the years, which I can respect. I dig a band that doesn't stagnate and is not afraid of changing things up a little bit and doing something different, even if they take some flack for it when it happens. And we all know that's happened from time to time. So anyway, going to check this one out. The song today is Sampo. I do not know what that means. Maybe the lyrics will reveal that to me. Knowing them, there's a half good, at least what little I know of them. But knowing what I do know of them, there is a half decent chance that what we're talking about is something that has basis in like mythology or something like that, Finnish mythology. We shall find out. So here we go. Sampo by Amorphis. Buckle up. Seems like a pretty decent place to pause, although I did step on the lyrics a little bit there, so I'm going to fix that when we come back. Anyway, so I like this. Again, if you know me a little bit, I like the melodic stuff. I like the clean vocals, although I wouldn't quite call him clean. He's got a bit of vocal fry going on there. Me throwing around some of my singing terminology like I know anything. But he's got a bit of the vocal fry going on, a little bit of grit in the voice that you hear there that's somewhere between a clean melodic vocal, but it got a touch of the death metal growl going on there, which is kind of a cool effect. You don't hear that a lot, but I like that. And a nice melodic melody that starts off there. I like the piano arpeggios that start off the song. And then I like between the first verse / chorus and the second verse, the first A-B followed by the second A-B, the break in between there, the guitar picks up that same arpeggio progression that the piano was doing, and they are playing that together. I don't think I'd quite call it a harmony. I would call it simultaneous is not the word I'm looking for, but we'll go with that one. I'll Google synonyms later. This has got a nice grand symphonic feel to it, a really kind of big melody and a big song in terms of the sound. There's a lot of sound going on there. I'm going to try and listen a little more closely to the arrangement. The second time around, I was caught up in reading lyrics, and God knows I can't multitask worth a damn. So we'll just continue with that and see if I can do better in the second verse here. Maybe I can pay attention to words and music at the same time. Maybe. I'll take a pause there because I know we are getting into the big instrumental break there. So I like that there's this gradual layering on of more and more almost grandiosity or more and more edge because they come in after the second verse and chorus. Now we've got extra guitar. I want to say extra guitar, although I didn't have the brains to look it up when I was looking up their history a little bit, but I'm left wondering. I'm pretty certain it's bass guitar, keyboards, drums. There's a part of me that wants to say, are there two guitar players? I don't think that is the case exactly, so I'm going to try and look it up, but if I can do it quickly, God, let's see. No, I was right. There are two guitars. Bada bing. So there we go. And now we can like reduce the brightness there as I'm looking things up in the middle of the recording. That's the way to do it like a professional, Dave. Anyway, but I had to look. I had to know right then and there if I was short because I knew I was picking up rhythm and a bit of a lead, but they were basically kind of doing these intertwining rhythms at that moment in that break there where with keyboards kind of, if I'm not mistaken, weaving in and out of it, sort of long notes with the staccato notes of the guitars sort of trading back and forth and complementing one another in the midst of all that. It was really very much a cool arrangement there because the keyboard was playing more almost of an ambient part, very long, drawn-out notes that just kind of shifted as the guitars played. And it's a really very cool effect and almost symphonic, really, effect, which is probably what they were going for without using an actual symphony. It really had that kind of sense that the keys playing what would be the string parts of it and the guitars playing sort of more the rhythm part of it and the horns that probably would be a little bit more staccato and short bursts in terms of notes. But very much a cool song. I like the midsection bridge with the vocals, and it gets kind of quiet and just very melodic, very cool. But it just, It's very grand in the sense that I can imagine this as something that talking about a story of fantastical nature, a story of mythology or something like that, that grand epicness that you would associate with something like that, which is really, I think, what's coming through here. And I get the impression, at least from what I've heard of them so far, is a thing that they like to do. So we're just backing that up a little bit because I want to hear the entirety of this instrumental break because I've got a good feeling. And there we go. I thought there was going to be more of a fade out there. You guys fooled me. So, very cool song. Very cool tune. I like that a lot. That it has a lot of very traditional elements to it in terms of the arrangement, the fairly traditional arrangement, A, B, A, B, C, A, B. But there's a lot of complexity going on there that is hidden by this sheen of very smooth melodicism. There's definitely a lot of interweaving and kind of back and forth play with the guitars and the keyboards. And frankly, that mid section there, I knew that was going to be good, and it did not disappoint at all. One, if they had just continued with that basic riff through that section, I would have been perfectly satisfied because that was an epic riff right there. That is, I don't headbang really as a rule of thumb, just not something I do. That's a headbanger. It is. And so that in and of itself was cool. But then you throw that guitar solo over top of it, which is a really cool guitar solo. And in my ears, I hear roots to 80s metal in that, which I didn't look to see when this song was recorded. So I don't know how, if it's mid-90s or feels like it would be later than that, but I don't know. I don't know their history enough to be able to guess at this point in time where this sound would fit in with them in their development. But if it were shortly after the 80s, okay, makes sense because it wouldn't have been that far removed from 80s metal. But just the way I felt that the slight blues undercurrent that was the basis of most metal in the 80s, if not all metal in the 80s, really. There wasn't much outside of that. Still in there, but it was more of a light flavor than it was a primary factor in it. But I could still hear it there, and I could hear that being transposed into something from the 80s. And it would have fit, and yet at the same time it fit in the epic grand scale of this song, with those massive riffs happening in the background. It was just a nice mix of elements right there, between the keyboard and the guitars and everything in the rhythm section. Really very, very cool, very epic. And if they were in their more power metal or symphonic metal stage or whatever, this would be an excellent example of that. And I hear in this the connections to bands that I'm more familiar with, like Catatonia or Evergrey or Soilwork, modern day Soilwork compared to older day, that I can see those connections, and that's where the link to progressive music exists for these guys. Even though there's a part of me that hears them and goes, well, it's not progressive metal as I know and understand progressive metal post Dream Theater. If it came before Dream Theater, then it would fit right the smack in with Fate's Warning and Halloween and all that kind of stuff. And if it came afterwards, it would be something of a slight throwback. But there's, again, the fact that their arrangement is reasonably traditional, and there are elements that are traditional in their sound as opposed to pulling in other genres, the overall arrangement is absolutely complex on a level that one would expect from a progressive band. So these guys definitely do ride the fence a little bit in terms of where they are and what they're doing exactly, which is cool. Like, I'm okay with that. I don't mind. Is what it is. And they're allowed to do what they do. So here we are with my second experience with Amorphis, Sampo, and I'm still not sure what Sampo means at this point in time. It probably would have more meaning in the greater scope of whatever album it comes from, and that this song doesn't reference it directly or tell me what it is or who it is, probably who, but I have a feeling the album would. So there we go. Cool. Thank you for that suggestion. I appreciate it very much. So meanwhile, this is what I do. If you like it, please do me a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when I release new stuff. I'll be digging deeper into the world of prog as 2024 goes on. If you don't mind, check out the links below for my social media and for my Live 365 station, The Expanse, all progressive rock and metal all day. Adding into it this month later, the Brain Salad Sunday, which is all prog rock from the 60s and 70s. The way it started, back at its roots. So that's going to be pretty cool when that gets started. And that would be cool to check it out and ride along with me. So for now, that's all I got. This is Super Dave saying, don't be afraid to deviate from the norm. Keep it proggy. Super Dave, signing off.